I'm going to tell you a quick story about predetermining a negative outcome versus predetermining a positive outcome. So I'm with this guy who's been selling for 3 years. He's one of the top sales guys. And I'm walking down the street with him and I said, let's go knock that house. He says, there's a Vivint sign there. They already have a system. I said, how do you know? Have you met the guy that owns that house? He's like, well, I'm just assuming because the sign's there that that's the case. I said, gosh, okay, let me show you. We don't know if they just moved in. We don't know if they stole the sign from their neighbors and put it in their yard. There's a lot of things we don't know. So I'm going to predetermine right now, this is a true story. I'm going to predetermine right now, I'm going to predict the future for you. And I'm going to tell you that somebody just moved in that house and their system's not even on. And he's like, are you setting me up? I said, I guess I am, but I've never knocked on that door. And so I sat there, I visualized exactly what I wanted it to be. I knocked on this door, and this guy that's about 5'5" and a wife beater comes to the door, and I said, sir, I noticed you have a Vivint sign out there. Is your system on? He goes, you know what, I just moved in the house. I said, really? Is the system on? He goes, no. I said, perfect. I gave him one of these. I said, that's all I need from you. You have a blessed day. And I left. And I stood with this guy. He's like, why didn't you sell him? I said, that wasn't the point, to sell him. My point is, don't predetermine your outcome negatively. The same is true in golf, right? If I stand on the tee box and I go, don't hit it in the water, what's going to happen? I'm going to hit it in the freaking water. This is not that hard. Decide what you want. Just decide what you want it to be, and it will be that. It doesn't mean it's going to work out perfectly, because if it always worked out perfectly, you would never grow. And the only way to succeed is to fail. You have to fail your way to success. You see, Napoleon Hill understood that. That's why he studied 15,000 people that failed. Well, guess what? The 500 people that succeeded, do you think they had failures? You studied Thomas Edison. Does anybody know how many times Thomas Edison failed? 10,000 times. He failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, but he learned and learned and learned and learned along the way. A golfer does the same thing. He fails all the time, but it's about how he recovers. It's about how he deals with the failure that makes him a great player. Does anybody here know Seve? Seve was the man, right? He could be put in the most precarious spot, and somehow Seve would find a way to make it work. He wouldn't let the fact that he got, the ball went into a divot or he was right behind a tree affect the next shot. Now, I also want to share with you Michael Jordan and his story. How many of you here believe that when Michael Jordan shot the basketball, he thought, I hope that goes in? You think that's what he thought? How many guys in sales go, I hope I sell this one? They all do that. But Michael Jordan expected it to go in every single time. Right? Did it go in every time? No, it went in 49.7% of the time. But his expectation was it was going to go in all the time, every time. The expectation should be that today is the best day of your life. The expectation should be that your employees, you get the most out of them. That they're fantastic. Because if you think an employee sucks, they will suck. And if you think they suck, you should probably let them go. And so, have an expectation that my wife says to me yesterday. She says, why do our kids listen to you? What do you do? I said, I expect them to listen to me. And what I hear from my wife is, they never listen to me, they always listen to you. And you know what I say to her? I believe it because you said it. Anybody in here know Herman? Do you know Herman? 16 years old. Herman is this black fellow from down south. He worked at the Ogden Country Club when I was 16. And Herman and I became pretty good friends. He was the shoe shine guy. Always happy. Had no money. But was always so pleasant, right? And so happy. Did you ever, maybe you heard him. You were in a different, but was he there when you were there?
Oh, yeah.
Was he happy?
Yeah.
For the most part, I dealt with him on a different level than maybe you did. But I sure found him to be so pleasant. And when I was 16, I said, Herman, one day, I'm going to own a club just like this. You know what Herman told me? He says, I believe it because you said it. Now, I would have told that to anybody else. They would have said, Shane, you are crazy. You're going to own a country club at 16 years old? But not Herman. Herman Herman said, I believe it because you said it. And if you believe in your employees and show faith in them and encourage them, you'll get more out of them. They'll want to perform better. They'll want to perform at that higher level. But if you believe that they're a challenge or they're a problem or they're this or they're that, that's exactly what they'll be. So start predetermining the outcome you want, not the outcome you don't want. Right? Don't hit it left versus, I'm going to rub this right down the middle with a 5-yard draw. It's a completely different mindset. I played a lot of golf. I haven't played so much lately, but I went out and played last week for the first time. I shot 2 over. I'm like a 5 handicap. You should invite me to play in some tournaments right now. But I believe that I can go out and shoot even regardless of whether I've been practicing or not. It frustrates the heck out of my dad because he just has to go and practice, and I can just show up and go tee it up and play. So now we'll see how well I do at 2-hay today. So we'll see what my positive mindset can do for me out there. But those are some of the techniques that I use with my kids, that I use in business, and I've found them to be productive. And it's not about what you don't know, because he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. Right? The most commonly traveled road of mediocrity is being realistic. Any of you have a cell phone in here? Okay, anybody know the story of Marconi? So Marconi has this idea 100 years ago that we can communicate wirelessly. And they looked at Marconi and said, "You're crazy." In fact, they locked him up in a mental institute because they thought he was crazy that we could communicate wirelessly. And what do we do today? Think of the airplane. Think of the Wright brothers. Fortunately, they weren't realistic. Taking a piece of metal, bending it, and then flying it over the ocean. That's unrealistic. Communicating wirelessly, that's unrealistic. So I don't believe in being realistic. I'm unrealistic. I'm just naive enough to believe that we have the capacity to do incredible things. And that there is nothing impossible. Everything is possible if you believe it is. Because whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. We have amazing capacity. We have amazing potential. And the limitations we set for ourselves are only the ones we set. If we set our limitations well beyond the mark, that's what it will be. So let's not limit ourselves. Let's not limit our potential. We have the capacity to do great things. I've done some incredible things in my life. And I said it's just because I'm naive enough to believe that I could do it. And I wasn't going to let anybody else tell me that I couldn't do something. I stopped worrying about what other people thought about me a long time ago. And I understand that there are people that aren't going to like me and there are people that are going to like me. And that's just it. And so I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with whatever anybody thinks about me. I'm okay if somebody reads an article about me in the Salt Lake Tribune and thinks I'm whatever. That's cool. But I'm okay with who I am. And I believe in myself. And each of us need to believe in ourselves first if we want others to believe in us, like Herman.